On this episode of Just Seen It, we honor this year's Oscars and review the nominations for Best Actor and Actress.
We don't have to talk about it.
Thanks.
How many were there?
11.
Wow.
He did a lot with this character that could be really unlikable because he had a lot of issues and a lot of problems and he was very outspoken, but he really turned him into somebody that we cared about and that we were kind of rooting for.
Best Director.
It's a beautiful visualization of a very abstract metaphor.
And Best Picture.
That's a rule of mathematical reasoning. It's true because it works.
So if you look at that, you actually narrow the field very, very quickly to only 2 movies.
All right here on Just Seen It. In honor of the 2012 Academy Awards, we discuss this year's nominations for Best Actor and Actress.
Hello, I'm Liz.
I'm Kevin.
And I'm Sean, and it's Oscar time here at Just Seen It. We're going to talk about the categories of Best Actor and Best Actress, who we think will win and who we think should win. So I think we should talk about the guy who's emerging as the frontrunner in this category, and that's Daniel Day-Lewis.
Or DDL, as I like to call him.
DDL, who played Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter.
Uh-huh.
Yes.
Is that right?
Awesome.
Daniel Day-Lewis is amazing. I think he's one of the best actors that's ever graced the silver screen. There's some stats against him, but I don't think there's anyone who's up to his caliber this year.
Usually, a lot of times with him, I feel like I'm seeing somebody acting, but in here, I just felt like he disappeared completely.
Yeah.
And I really believed that he was Lincoln, but not, a historical figure Lincoln. I believed he was a real person.
I think he deserves to win, and he should win. Problem is, if you give him the Best Actor award this year, he will have won 3.
What, is he going to get too big of a head? Is that what you're worried about?
No one has ever won 3
He could be the
Oscars for
first.
Best Actor.
Doesn't mean it can't happen.
Well, you're basically crowning him the greatest actor of all
Well, that
time.
doesn't mean, what do you mean? Because he won 3 Oscars, that makes him
Yes.
the best actor ever?
Yes.
He's fantastic, and I think he deserves it, and I think it's very silly to worry about these precedents.
He's been nominated only 5 times for this Oscar, and you're basically saying you're going to give him 3 Academy
Hilary
Awards with
Swank was
only 5
nominated twice
nominations.
and won both of them, right?
She's only won 2.
But she's only nominated 2.
Fair point. Fair point. Peter O'Toole was nominated 8 times, never won. Let's talk about who could maybe beat Daniel Day-Lewis. We've got Joaquin Phoenix.
No, he won't.
No, why not?
No, because he's too acty and he's too weird. And he was just chewing the scenery and eating his co-stars for dessert.
Joaquin Phoenix gave a fantastic performance. I thought he played a monster, but he somehow brought humanity to the monster, and I was impressed. However, I don't really feel like the film and his performance are accessible enough to win a Best Actor statuette.
There's not a lot of love for The Master in other categories. It's only gotten 3 nominations this year. They've all been in the acting categories, so probably Joaquin Phoenix won't win. How about Denzel Washington for Flight?
The movie was not the best movie, but I thought he gave an incredibly strong performance in a less than stellar film.
I absolutely agree. I thought he was really good, but it was kind of a lifetime alcoholism movie.
I actually liked Flight quite a bit, but Denzel Washington, like Daniel Day-Lewis, is one of our finest actors out there, I think.
Absolutely.
But again, like The Master, there's not a lot of love for Flight. It only got 1 other nomination, and that was for its screenplay, so it doesn't look like it's going to get any gold.
Yeah.
Next, we've got Bradley Cooper in Silver Linings Playbook.
He did a lot with this character that could be really unlikable because he had a lot of issues and a lot of problems and he was very outspoken, but he really turned him into somebody that we cared about and that we were kind of rooting for.
He gave such a rich performance, and it transported him off of this ridiculous, like, people's most sexiest actor kind of thing into a real, substantial performer, and I was pretty impressed. And if you look at the precursor to the Oscars, the Golden Globes, Bradley Cooper lost. He lost to Hugh Jackman.
He did lose to Hugh Jackman, who's in Les Miserables.
Hugh Jackman, for some reason, it was a little too earnest for me, and it turned me off. And I think the film itself had a lot of pretension about, we're doing live singing and we can change it up every time we do another take, and it just started to bug me. And so when I watched him personally, I got a little bit irked, but I do think he did a nice job.
I wouldn't be upset if Hugh Jackman won.
I thought he was terrific too. I think your points will prevent the film Les Miserables from winning Best Picture. The live singing and things of that nature help the actors, and people will recognize the fact that that's something very interesting and unique and hasn't really ever been done before. I know that Daniel Day-Lewis is sort of the front runner right now, but again, those stats, the fact that he's already won 2 Oscars for Best Actor, somebody has to take his place if I'm going to, bet anything on it. And the only person I can really look at is Hugh Jackman. All right, so let's recap. Best Actor, who we think will win and who we think should win.
Daniel Day-Lewis should win, and I think I'm going to make a prediction that Hugh Jackman will win.
Who I'd like to see win, Daniel Day-Lewis, but who I think will win, while I kind of see the Hugh Jackman argument, I think Daniel Day-Lewis.
I agree with Liz. I think that Daniel Day-Lewis should win, but I believe because of the historical nature that Hugh Jackman will win. Okay, so let's talk about Best Actress. Now, we have some history here, because in this category this year, we have the oldest nominee ever, and that's Emmanuelle Riva for Amour. And we have the youngest nominee ever, Quvenzhané Wallis, who was 9, and she was nominated for Beasts of the Southern Wild. How about these 2 actresses?
Well, they're both amazing films, actually 2 of my favorite films the entire year. Both of them have accessibility issues. Beasts of the Southern Wild is more of an indie fare, and Amour is a foreign film. So though they're both incredibly strong performances, those are going to be their downfalls.
I agree. I think Emmanuelle Riva was so good in this role, but I just don't think anybody's going to see it. They're going to skew towards somebody who's a little bit more popular.
How about Naomi Watts for The Impossible?
I loved Naomi Watts in The Impossible. I was just blown away about how physically demanding it was, how emotional it was, and she just carried us through the movie, even though she wasn't in it as much as you kind of expect her to. The first 45 minutes just blew me away.
I think the issue, again, is not many people saw the movie. And though she's fantastic, that's going to be the issue there.
You have Ewan McGregor basically splitting screen time with Naomi Watts, and you have this youngster, Tom Holland, who's really the lead of the film. It's told from his point of view. So Naomi Watts is almost a supporting actress in this.
I do think there's a possibility that she could be the dark horse, though, and we talk a little bit about the math of these nominations and these wins and splitting the vote amongst all the actors and actresses. And because she's so embraced by the community and it was such a demanding role, there might be a chance that she might be the surprise.
So I feel that this category is coming down to 2 actresses at this moment, Jessica Chastain and Jennifer Lawrence. So Jessica Chastain, of course, is in Zero Dark 30.
She's a little bit like Meryl Streep in the sense that she looks like a different person with every role that she takes. And I respect her. I think she's graceful in public. I think she makes really interesting decisions in her career. She just constantly challenges herself. And I thought she was a force to be reckoned with in Zero Dark 30.
I really liked Jessica Chastain, but there were some moments when she had to be very forceful, where the tone of her voice sounded a little bit like a petulant teenager. So it didn't always work for me.
I personally love the film. I think Zero Dark 30 is terrific. But it's not an actor's movie. Really, the only one who stands out at all is Jessica Chastain. And she does deserve the nomination. I have no qualms about that. She's fiery, she's tough as nails. It doesn't really stand out as something that pushes the film even further than what maybe the director can do with it, which is Catherine Bigelow. Plus the fact that Catherine Bigelow got snubbed. I don't think there's a lot of love for Zero Dark 30, unfortunately, especially with this accusations of it being pro-torture and whatnot. So next up is Jennifer Lawrence for Silver Linings Playbook.
I really like Jennifer Lawrence in this. When she's on screen, my gaze always went to her, and I was always interested to what she had to say and how she had to say it specifically.
She's an amazing, amazing actress, and I think this movie, she gave it a fantastic performance. I don't disagree with you, but there's something in me that says she's too young, or she's gone too mainstream, or I don't even know what it is. This is a comedy. I have all these reasons in my head that are saying it's not going to be her. In spite of all these instincts, I predict it will be her who wins.
Her character is the most complicated in this batch of 5. It's quirky, it's funny, it's weird. And of all the 5 actresses, I feel like this is the one where she made it her own. I'm not sure I could see anyone else playing this character, and I can't necessarily say that about the other four. So let's sum up Best Actress. I want to know who you think should win and who you think will win.
I think Naomi Watts should win, but I do think Jennifer Lawrence is going to win.
Jessica Chastain should win everything, but I do feel that Jennifer Lawrence will win.
I'm going to say Jennifer Lawrence should win and Jennifer Lawrence will win. Cheers.
Cheers to actors and actresses.
To mimes and performers and spoken word artists.
In honor of the 2012 Academy Awards, we discuss this year's nominations for Best Director.
Hi, I'm Brenna.
I'm Kevin.
I'm Leah, and we're here to talk about our Oscar predictions for Best Director. It may be a little early, but that's never really stopped us before, and so we're going to talk about who we would like to win and who we think will win. Kevin, why don't you start us off?
Well, I think we need to talk about the snubs first, which would be Catherine Bigelow's Zero Dark 30 and Ben Affleck for Argo.
I would throw Quentin Tarantino into that mixture also.
That's
I
true.
think that there were some old stalwarts, and then I think that there were just some people that they were just like, no.
I think they went, you've got the Best Picture nomination, that's enough. It's been a while since a film has won Best Picture that also wasn't nominated for Best Director.
Let's start things off then with Michael Haneke, who directed Amour.
Han. Coucou. C'est moi.
I don't think Michael Haneke would win Best Director, simply because he's kind of an unusual director. His films tend to be a little unsettling and creepy. Even though this was called Amour and it was kind of a lovely film, there were still elements that were a little unnerving, and it was kind of depressing.
There is an element of creepiness that is going on in this film, and it really has to do with a very subtle touch that forces the audience to really pay attention to the story.
Yes.
And a lot of that is stylistic. It's doing long takes, continuous takes, very little cutting and editing, and he works so well with actors. There's no music going on in here, so there's no tipping you off in terms of what you should think or what you should do.
While I wasn't entirely crazy about the story, I felt that his direction was amazing. The way he commands the camera with these long, static shots and these ridiculously long takes is very impressive, as well as his direction of the actors. However, I don't think that he's going to win. Haneke was also nominated for Best Foreign Language Film. I think it's going to win that, and that's going to take its place for this.
So what about Ben Zeitlin for Beasts of the Southern Wild?
They think we all gonna drown down here, but we ain't going nowhere.
This was actually a really original movie. I thought he did a lovely job with not only the cinematography and the action, but he directs non-actors really, really well. Both of the lead actors had never had any experience, and he does such an amazing job with them.
Yeah! Woo! Lord! Look what we got! Look what we got! Gotcha! We got it! Say I got you!
I got you!
Yeah!
And he created this world and this original story that was just really, really impressive.
I, too, like you, really like the work of Ben Zeitlin. This is, again, his first feature, and he worked on developing the story and the screenplay. He did an amazing job with finding these actors just off, from local talent. It's an incredible story, something we've certainly never seen before on the big screen, and I was just quite amazed.
Beasts of the Southern Wild would be what I would want to win for Best Director, mainly because I'm impressed with how he handled his subject material. I'm impressed that he took the dirty, gritty South and made it beautiful and charming and absolutely fascinating. Yeah. And on top of that, he has these performances. To get that performance out of a child is beyond impressive. However, I don't think he's going to win because this is his first film, and the Academy usually doesn't give anything to freshman directors.
And I'm going to agree with you. I think that this would be the choice of who I would want to win. But I agree. I think he's a first-time director, and unfortunately, they're going to say he has time. So, Ang Lee for Life of Pi. Ang Lee did a really great job with this because it's a very difficult book to adapt. Creating this epic story that was understandable and relatable to young and old alike. Plus the fact that he took a newcomer actor and got this performance out of him while he's working with nobody because the animals were added in later. In fact, most of the sets were fake too. I feel like that's a really difficult stunt to pull off, and I think he actually did a really, really magnificent job with it.
He's a director that really works with large canvases and grand scale, and he did really great stuff here with CGI. The problem for me is that the CGI pushed the larger themes of the story to the margins, specifically dealing with philosophy and God, and allowed the CGI to take center stage.
I think that this is actually what's going to win Best Director. It's an impressive adaptation. The source material is very difficult to turn a book on philosophy into a coherent story. It's a beautiful visualization of a very abstract metaphor.
Of course, we need to speak about Steven Spielberg, who directed Lincoln.
Euclid says this is self-evident. You see, there it is, even in that 2,000-year-old book of mechanical law. It is a self-evident truth that things which are equal to the same thing are equal to each other.
I'm a huge Spielberg fan. I have been ever since I was a kid. This just, for me, isn't one of his stronger films. It was well shot. Directing was good, except for the script is kind of talky, and it just got to be a little long-winded and HBO film-ish. But I think what I liked about it was that some of the shots, iconic images, made me feel like this is such a great epic story. There was something missing for me, and I'm gonna blame him.
Yeah, what's missing is a pulse. And as a director, he failed to do what I think is an essential bottom line task, which is rein things in and make them cohesive. So much of this film is on the surface, including the way that it looks. All he has to do is hire Janusz Kaminski and John Williams and create some nice composition and a couple of nice tableaus, and then I'll just steep it in this overproduced music, and that will give the film the energy that it needs to make it grand. And he's trying to artificially inseminate this film with importance, and it's just not there.
So it seems that Lincoln and Spielberg is everybody's favored choice for what's going to win, or everybody's safe choice. But I'm not so sure about that. I don't think it's going to win. I think that his snub last year for War Horse was kind of an indication that maybe the Academy's tired of him. Then again, his inclusion this year might mean that they're trying to make up for those slights, but
I think he's just the Meryl Streep of directors. He will get nominated for anything that he does, including the phone book. And some days he'll win, some days he won't. And lastly, David O. Russell, who directed Silver Linings Playbook.
So is this the girl you wrote about?
Yeah.
What? You wrote about me? I'm the girl?
He wrote about you, all right.
What did he say?
He said you guys was helping each other out, and you were nice, and you had a mouth on you, but...
Whoa, okay.
You're a little mouthy, but...
David O. Russell is my choice for who should win and will win. He was able to deliver a manic, crazy, wholly entertaining film that was, I felt, very adult. He was mixing a lot of stylistic choices, certainly in terms of camera. He was able to pull really compelling performances out of Jennifer Lawrence and Bradley Cooper. I actually liked these people. I felt for these people. I was sucked into their crises. David O. Russell was able to pull that off.
I don't think he's going to win because they don't vote for rom-coms. Rom-coms don't win anymore.
This is true.
True. I really like the direction of this. I'm not a big David O. Russell fan, but I was with this the whole time. I really like the characters, and like you, I agree. I don't think David O. Russell's going to win, mostly because it's a rom-com, and they get nominated, they just don't win anymore.
Let's wrap up our discussion on the Best Director Oscar nominees and talking about our favorites of who we want to win and our predictions of who will win.
Well, I am going to pick David O. Russell for both of those categories, who I think will win and who I think should win for Silver Linings Playbook.
I would like to see Ben Zeitlin win for Beasts of the Southern Wild, but I do think Ang Lee's going to take it for Best Director.
I agree with you. I think Zeitlin should win, but I think that Ang Lee is going to win.
All right, well, we'll just have to tune in and find out.
Here's some movies and the
two
directors and the
directors.
Oscars.
Our DVD pick of the week can only be one of the craziest movies of 2012, Seven Psychopaths.
How's everything in the dog kidnapping business? You got a new dog? Where were you walking him, Charisse?
I always loved Bonnie like he was my own child.
1, I do not want that image in my head. 2, could you go get my dog back?
When I reviewed this movie, along with Liz and Aaron, we gave it a very strong see it. And if that's not enough, it's the 25th anniversary of the original Die Hard. just in time for the premiere of A Good Day to Die Hard, the 5th installment of the action franchise starring Bruce Willis. So yippee-ki-yay!
In honor of the 2012 Academy Awards, we discuss this year's nominations for Best Picture.
Hi, I'm Sean.
I'm Liz.
And I'm Aaron, and today we're here to talk about the Best Picture nominations for this year's Academy Awards.
Let's begin with getting rid of and eliminating my favorite movies from the competition.
Okay. Yeah.
Because they're just too arty for everyone else.
I do think that Lincoln is way too arty.
Oh, stop.
If only.
Unfortunately, I feel like Amour and Beast of the Southern Wild don't have a very strong possibility of winning the Best Picture Oscar.
It's disappointing, too, because they are very, very good films.
They're
and
fantastic.
very unique, too.
They're amazing. They have very specific worlds and very unique circumstances, but they're telling these universal stories, and I love that about these films. Unfortunately, they're a little depressing and arty.
So generally, if the film has not been nominated for the Best Director Oscar, it doesn't really have a chance in Best Picture. So that eliminates Argo, it eliminates Django Unchained, Les Miserables, and Zero Dark 30.
Well...
Didn't get the Best Director nomination.
Yeah, but the DGA did nominate Ben Affleck and Catherine Bigelow and Tom Hooper, so maybe that puts them back in contention?
It's funky. It's been a weird disconnect
year.
Between those two that could mean that something goes funky.
There was that split between Best Picture and Best Director with Crash and Brokeback Mountain.
Right?
So
it's happened before.
Yeah.
Not very often, though. So you have to look at precedent, and precedent shows it's probably not going to happen.
Well, so according to your stats, what do we have left?
The DGA winner lines up with the Best Director winner nearly 100% of the time. So if you look at that, you actually narrow the field very, very quickly to only 2 movies. And those 2 movies are Lincoln and Life of Pi. So of those 2, Life of Pi is a good movie. It's a great looking film. I think it'll win in most of the technical categories.
My name is Pai Patel. I have been in a shipwreck. I am on a lifeboat alone with a tiger.
The more prestigious film, the film by the stronger director, or at least the director that Hollywood likes more, and maybe a film that has more momentum than Life of Pi right now, is Lincoln. I'm picking Lincoln will win Best Picture of the year.
Things which are equal to the same thing are equal to each other. That's a rule of mathematical reasoning. It's true because it works.
If we're going to expand the playing field back to those 5 films that have a strong chance, I think that Argo has a potential to win. It's an audience picture, and it's somewhat apolitical and diplomatic in the way it presents its story, and it's by a well-respected Hollywood actor and director.
Here's your director.
You teach somebody to be a director in a day?
You teach a rhesus monkey to be a director in a day.
Though it is being overshadowed by Lincoln, Silver Linings Playbook, and Life of Pi. I think that Lincoln has a really good chance because it's America's favorite figure, directed by America's favorite director, and I think that'll appeal to nostalgic Academy members.
Good point. Argo also won the Golden Globe for Best Dramatic Feature.
Right.
Which doesn't line up with Best Picture very often. It's quite rare, actually.
Well, I'm gonna go down in that direction.
Okay.
I think that because it won Best Drama at the Golden Globes, that Argo is going to be the one that will win.
You have to know your resume back to front. You really believe your little story is going to make a difference when there's a gun to our heads? I think my story is the only thing between you and a gun to your head.
Ben Affleck has been crafting very well-made films, and I think this is definitely his most suspenseful and exciting film yet.
And then we have to look at how the votes are tabulated. There's this weird percentage game that's played, and maybe these votes are going to be split, and then the least offensive film that is more Hollywood fare might end up winning.
And that could be Argo. That could also be Les Mis. Maybe
Right.
could fit in with that. It's a musical.
Another dark horse.
Another dark horse. It's big, it's epic, it's bold, it has a lot of production design.
It was quite
Hollywood
wonderful.
likes that.
Your time is up and your parole's begun. You know what that means.
Yes, means I'm free.
Then there's all that backlash about people not liking the live singing, and doesn't do too much in the Best Picture race.
Life of Pi, that's Ang Lee. That's another very prestigious director everyone loves, but I think people will appreciate it more intellectually than they will as a piece of cinema.
Life of Pi was an ambitious film with grand thematic elements, fantastic performances, and Ang Lee is this director who has worked in different modes of storytelling. From The Ice Storm to Sense and Sensibility, he has such diversity and range as a director that I would love to see him rewarded with the statuette for Best Picture.
It's very technically strong, and the story is unique and not one that we've ever seen before.
But at the end of the day, you want an underdog to win. I mean, regardless of your predictions.
Silver Linings Playbook, underdog.
That would be an underdog.
Yeah, that'd be a great one. I think that's a wonderful film. A romantic comedy with a good amount of drama.
I was very depressed after Tommy died. It was a lot of people.
We don't have to talk about it.
Thanks.
How many were there?
11.
Wow.
Let's talk about the film we think should win.
My pick of what should win, or what I would really like to win, is Django Unchained. And I know that it probably won't because it's very racy. The subject matter is not Academy Fare. It's my pick of what should win because it really was the most fun I had in the theater all year.
What makes you such a Mandingo expert?
I'm curious what makes you so curious.
I think Zero Dark 30 should win Best Picture. It's taut, it's suspenseful, and it's an examination of a period of time for our age that is gripping and interesting and brings it to life in a way that we've never seen it before. A lot of people probably don't know this story as well as they think they do, and Catherine Bigelow puts it on screen for us in a fantastic manner. And of course, it didn't get a Best Director nomination. There's a lot of talk about the fact that this film is pro-torture, and the politics, I don't think it's pro-torture. No matter what the politics of a film are, you should look at the film and judge it by its own merits, and it's an excellent film no matter what the point of view of it is.
There are two narratives about the location of Osama bin Laden. The one that you're most familiar with is that UBL is hiding in a cave in the tribal areas.
I, of course, love Amour and Beast of the Southern Wild. I'm leaning a little bit more towards Amour for the film that should win. I thought it was elegant, I thought it was visceral, and it just incredibly impactful film with astounding performances and very strong direction. But no one's gonna vote for Amour, and it'll make me cry over and over again.
I think this is 9 strong films. I would be happy with any film winning, even Lincoln. You know, somebody on the show's got to defend Lincoln, and I thought it was a terrific film, so I'd be perfectly happy with it.
Certainly isn't gonna be me. I mean, I would be happy with a lot of things winning as well. I really don't think Lincoln deserves it, but I really do love Life of Pi, Silver Linings Playbook. I really hope those have a good shot.
Well, I guess it's time to wrap up with who we think should win and who we think will win.
I think Django Unchained should win. That's just out of the love of my heart. And I really think that Argo is going to win.
I believe Zero Dark 30 should win, but what will win is Steven Spielberg's Lincoln, his finest film in years.
I would love to see Amour win Best Picture. However, I believe Lincoln is a safe bet.
I may disagree with your thoughts, but I will cheers anyway.
Cheers.
To the best pictures of 2012.
To the 16th president.
And to all movies everywhere.
On our next episode, we review the new Sylvester Stallone action thriller, Bullet to the Head, the new comedy Identity Thief, starring Melissa McCarthy and Jason Bateman, and we look at the fascinating documentary about the Israeli Secret Service, The Gatekeepers. Thanks for watching, and see you next week.
I think he should win just because he has Jennifer Lawrence in yoga pants for most of the movie.